And
Hello, Jim.
hello, David.
I hope you leave the snap in the episode. That
We'll
was
be
that
like
was
the Adams
quite
family.
humorous. Yeah, maybe you can cut it like that. I don't know. I'm not giving you any
Johnny
more editing work to do on that. That's
Johnny
ridiculous.
Depp. No, Johnny Depp. I guess is going to bring the Adams family back to life. I can't remember Eva something or other is going to be his.
He'd have to in order to explain his current court troubles.
Somebody's got to pay those bills. Somebody's got to pay the lawyer bills. May as well be
Uh,
Netflix.
I don't know what was going on there, but let's just say some people got crazy. Okay. um, Man, it's been a wild weekend. I went to visit Nick Bongers this weekend, who's the guy behind Great Lakes Guitar Pickups, and I shot a pickup demo while I was there, and got to play a lot of stuff, and it was a really good time. We just kind of sat around and played guitar all weekend.
You
Um,
mean you mean this pickup demo?
well, I don't know if it's going to be in the episode or not, but it's coming out soon. I'm actually editing it now. There's a lot of footage I got to put together because the pickups we were giving away from Nick, actually, um, I wound those at GearFest 2 years ago, a year ago. Not this July, but the previous July.
Oh yeah, yep.
And I had not heard them until this weekend, and that was a surprising situation because we put them in the guitar, and well, first thing, the guitar that we put him into is the Godin LG P90, and when Nick was taking it apart and installing the pickups, he goes, this thing's really well made. Like the shielding and stuff's really well done on this thing. And it was a cinch to put them in and out. Part of that's probably because Good Time has redone the wiring in that guitar for me. And I had him put in 500K pots to give the P90s the best shot. So when we did the shootout, it was 500K pots. We had Seymour Duncans that were stock in the guitar, and then we had the Great Lakes Guitar Pickups custom, P90 set that we created. And I gotta say, I was expecting them to be good. I wasn't expecting them to be freaking magic, and that's what they were. I'm not talking these pickups up. In fact, I'll put my money where my mouth is. I turned to Nick and I said, I don't want to give these away. I, I
Are you
said
going to buy them?
we, and then Nick basically said we're gonna make some. So it was like he turned around, he was like, "Yep, we're definitely gonna make some." And here's some of the conversation behind this. So Nick knows pickups like no other. I mean, I sat with him while we were putting together some new ones, and we were just going back and forth, and he was explaining all this pickup technology stuff to me, and um, it this is a testament to how good he is, right? So he makes pickups, and sometimes he doesn't have a guitar to throw them in to actually test them, and they rarely come back. So he has a box that he keeps all of his like old pickups that didn't work out or like somebody didn't like and that kind of stuff. And when I tell you he has a box, it's a really tiny box. Okay, it's like yay big.
Yeah.
and it's just got all the wraps of wire, so it's just like, they're just put in there. And he was telling me, he's like, well, he's like, I've got my two P90 guitars. He's got a very old Les Paul, a special, or is it a special Junior, and then he has a an SG Junior, which is actually a Les Paul Junior, and he's like, those got the original dog ears in them, and he doesn't want to mess with them. Yep. So his whole thing was like, I don't really put my P90s in anything, and this is the first time I've actually heard them like in person and not via like video clip or audio clip from somebody. And he's like, wow. He was like, yeah, these sound really good. And he was sending me pictures of the ads from Reverb when I got back today of, there's this guitar that has P90 or has an aftermarket P90 in it, and I want it because I want to throw mine in there. Yeah, so I walked out actually poor because I basically told them, I said, we're going to make a set of P90s. We were going to make them, and I was going to have them when I came home. And we didn't have the right, we were missing like some like spacers and stuff. Yeah, it was a spacer in the cover. I learned how to take Seymour Duncan logos off of my covers, which was nice. And actually kind of inventive. Nick is a good guy, but I'll characterize him as this. If there's something that needs to be done, he'll do it. He'll figure out a way. He's actually building, Jem, and you can appreciate this. He's a Kiss cover man. He's building a lift in his garage for the drums.
I saw that picture you sent me. That's amazing. That's amazing.
I saw it. About
you sent me a little video where he's talking about how it's lifting, and I was like, wow. That is, let me tell you something. That is a level of cover band that goes, I mean, literally.
It's like above and beyond the level of anything you've ever seen before.
No, not above anything I've ever seen before, but above and beyond anything that most people have seen, and definitely something I've never been a part of. That goes to, okay, here's this cover band, but his is a cover band that Gene Simmons would go, yeah, that's a cover band of our band. I mean, and Gene, I'm willing to bet you Gene would give them a stamp of approval.
Nick and I had long conversations about, how he structures that philosophy. So he's not just involved in that project. He actually has some other music stuff that's got going on. Yeah. And it's much a passion project for him, but like he just gets how it's supposed to work, right? Like he knows that in order for them to do that correctly, you have to have the stage props. That's right. You have to have the stage show to go with it. And so that involves, fake marshals and all the other things that they do so that they can do this in small clubs.
Yeah, what is a Kiss cover band without the light show, without the fire, because even in the smaller clubs, Gene Simmons was doing that, and
for every little attraction they add, their fee goes up. So, and in fact, I could see him in the very near future doing tiered pricing where he's negotiating with the club owners on this. You want to see this? That's going to cost you this much.
If you want to see the rising drums, you got to.
Yeah, I hope I'm not giving anything away from our conversations. I thought this was all amicable stuff, but I had a good time.
He seems great. He seems like a perfectionist. Like I said, my cousin Jimmy, he's Elvis guy, and all of every sequin in
Yeah.
his jacket is perfect. Everything is down to the microscopic measurement that you could do looking at Elvis's stuff and then taking those. I mean, think about how much access he had to have. Elvis's guitar, with his name in it and all the stuff, and he's got
Hmm.
exact, not built by this Chinese company overseas that didn't do it. No, he had it built by the same people.
I don't think he's like a perfectionist in that regard. I think he just knows that the check boxes he needs to hit,
Yeah.
and he makes sure he hits those well. Um, in terms of like how he does pickups, he's very meticulous, but he also knows what he can get away with, and like in the best way possible. Like, okay, so for example, Fender and their bobbins, they're really just like a magnetic thing that
Yeah.
they have pole pieces, right? And they would wrap wire around the pole pieces. So like some years they use tape, and then he explained to me some of his secrets. I'm not going to go into detail on what he does, but we were talking about it, and he says, there's this thing you can do, and like he knows what Fender was doing, right? But he
Right.
also knows what matters, because he's like, yeah, I've done that before, and it's really not. It doesn't make any difference to the sound of the pickup, and those are
Right.
the kind of things that are really critical to being successful in any business, is to understand what you can ignore. And I
That's right.
think I don't want to say, I think ignore is like a bad word, but he knows what he can get away with,
Yeah.
and what's going to work. So for any of our listeners who are considering a set of pickups from anybody, please, like, do yourself a favor. It'll take you, 5-10 minutes to reach out to Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Send him an email. He will tell you if what you're looking for is something he can do or not. And more often than not, it's something he can do. I mean, I saw blade single coils there. I saw all kinds of weird crap. And he hands me a guitar and he says, play this. And I'm playing it, and he goes, those are quarter pounders. I'm like, what? He's got, basically a quarter pounder set. And I'm like, okay, and not everything like was my cup of tea for sure, but like they all sounded good. I mean, what they
Right.
do, right? So I
Right.
played every pickup under the sun that you can play in a production guitar. We did go to some cool shops. It
Yeah.
was
Motor
interesting to
City.
see well, Motor City Guitar Works, and that was cool. And those guys were. If you ever get a chance to go over to Motor City Guitar it's around Detroit, I recommend it. They had a lot of stuff, not snobbery. Their pedal cabinet was so full that I spent like 20 minutes looking through it. That's the used pedal cabinet. Okay,
Yeah.
just the used stuff. They have more new. Okay, and I was looking for like Roger Mayer stuff, and kind of like weird, obscure stuff, and I
Yeah.
found a couple actually. So I didn't buy anything, but I did find a couple, and I was like, man, these are just not the ones I'm looking for. Like if I can find, an Axis fuzz or something like that, I would
Yep.
have plunked down money probably. But yeah, it's a cool place. Highly recommend it. Prices are good. Guys are nice. You'll find that they have like a used pickup bin, and they have, you can buy cable by the foot there, and connectors from all kinds of companies that you've never even heard of
It's like
before.
it's like going to the Fry's of guitar shops.
Yeah, it's very much like it's like Home Depot with guitars in it. I mean, they have pretty much everything you'd need to put on a show, and like you could make your own cables and all that kind of crap out of there. So it's cool.
Yep.
But you obviously have something going on. Like I mean, the paint looks similar, but I think you might be in a new room.
All right, so I'm going to move the camera a little bit while I'm talking to you. So as you can see here, that's actually covering the fact that what I did was I had to put some not so pretty soundproofing up because the person that did this. So this was a studio. This is a built studio. So this is a room within a room. The way a studio is supposed to be built. The only thing I have to do is finish the floor. So, and of course I did all this stuff that you're about to see. But so I've got traps in every corner. You can see there. There's a trap down behind there, and there's a trap in every corner. So everything's got a trap. It's really well done. It's got a little bit of work to do. I think you'll all appreciate the weird stuff going on. Um, and so here's uh, behind there. The person decided they wanted a window so that they could look into a control room, right? Well, they made the window out of just plain old plexiglass. So noise just pow, and it's recessed. So it actually caused more too many quarters. So what I did was I stuffed it full of pillows, and I put a baby blanket up over it. My sons are way out of
It's
baby blankets, so
it's temporary.
it is. I'm gonna do something more rock and roll with it, but it's temporary now.
Well, I was
Um,
going to ask the question. So they put up plexiglass, right? But did they leave an air gap? Did they put like because you're supposed to put an air gap in
yeah,
between two
no,
sheets on? Okay, all right.
yeah, no, they did not.
This was
Um,
somebody's idea of what a studio is supposed to be then.
exactly. So then the they did these walls with a really heavy, like outside it's all foam all the way around
Yeah,
so that
right,
you don't
right.
bother the neighbors. But the problem is because of that, the inside was built with really hard uh, drywall, and they didn't do anything in the inside. So what I've done is obviously I put up acoustic panels, but I needed to absorb a lot of room on one of these walls. So here's what I did to absorb the.
Is that cloth or
Yeah, that's canvas. That is
okay?
canvas.
Yeah, I mean it'll still be reflective, and if your floors are hard, they're going to be reflective, and so will your ceiling.
Yeah, but that right there, that knocks down. I don't know how. I don't know if it's because of an air gap, because of the way I got it
It's
hung or
probably the
whatever.
air gap.
But it knocks down sound. That's an original Thor poster from the original movie, the first Thor movie, and that thing is 12 feet long. That's, that's 12 feet. It's the room is 11 by 11 on the inside. That's 12 feet long. There's actually a foot of it over here in front of me. So as you could see, Chris Helmsworth's face as I was going around. Um, so I have this is going to go in the door just to knock down some. I've actually got acoustic paneling on the door, but I'm going to put this on there, and this will be like a gate to come in the room. It's not going to be
Right.
perfect. I can't expect perfection, but as soon as I get some acoustic tiling down the floor, and raise the floor, I think that that's gonna do a ton. Well, what I mean by acoustic tile, I shouldn't say acoustic tile. I'm gonna put down acoustic flooring and a fuzzy carpet or something to.
Yeah, I mean even for just a mixing space, like a
Yeah,
really like big absorptive rug,
yeah, as dead as it
and
can be. Right.
you want to treat directly above your head, like
Yeah.
where your studio monitors are at, and try
Yep.
because otherwise you're going to get reflections off the ceiling.
Yeah, and the
Um,
studio monitors are gonna go here, so to
I
my
mean,
right and left, obviously.
I
So
mean, my space is dead, and you can see I don't have much treatment. I mean, it's not completely dead, but it's dead enough that I can mix in it. And I
yeah.
think part of it's also because I do all my listening of music like right here, so I'm
Yep.
just used to what this room sounds like and what the music is supposed to sound like.
Right.
My mixes are not, they're not studio quality or anything, but they're good. They're better than most. Um,
Yep.
so
So
um,
I used some posters as well. So let's take a little look around. So obviously there's my V and my Strat, and my SG and stuff. Oh look, there's a bass. I got to move out of the way. So
yep,
I've got a Music Man Stingray. Well, it's not a Music Man. It's the
it's a
Sterling.
Sterling.
It's a Sterling Stingray, but it's a start. I'm actually gonna get the Music Man version of the same bass, which is triple the price
Yeah,
used.
they
This
yeah
was
they're
new. Triple the
they're like
price.
seventeen hundred
No,
dollars used,
yeah,
and in some cases more. Yeah,
yeah, we've got one in the store for like $1,600. And then this little bass amp right here is going to get replaced by a Mark bass. I'm going to go with the Mark bass 1,000 watt, I think it is.
yeah,
Um,
those are decent.
they're really nice.
I'm actually a big fan of the Mesa Subways. I didn't think like Mesa made great bass amps, but I've seen a couple guys come into Good Time and play him, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
damn.
just the truth of the matter is when it comes to I mean if I was doing it for just recording it'd be one thing, but the
Right.
truth of the matter is that most bass amps on stage, unless you're a big act, if you've got a 2x10 or even a 4x10, that's just for you to hear it and the rest of the band to hear it. Usually it's smart to just put two 2x10s, one on one side of the stage, one on the other side of the stage.
Yeah, these days, I mean, a Mark bass like 210 combo and
Yep.
a direct out to the board is probably
Yep.
the
And
optimal way
that's
to get.
and then the rest of it comes from the subwoofer, so it doesn't really matter. I want something that's and like I said, that's about $1,200 street price. So
You gonna put together a bass pedal board?
I don't, I've been playing bass since I was 17, and I played it exclusively. I was talking to somebody. I was like, "Wow, that's right. I didn't play guitar at all for almost 8 years, and 6 or 8 years, and so it's really not. And I need a new desk. You can see that. Um, uh, anyway, but I don't want to buy some piece of wood that's just going to have to get treated. So I got to find something
Right.
that's, you know. But anyway, I remembered that while I was playing bass, um, I didn't play much guitar. So I'm kind of um,
Yeah, be careful. It's dangerous. You might be a bass player before it's over
it,
with.
yeah, and the fact is I don't want to get. Oh, I was one of those guys. I had this many basses. I mean,
Yeah.
and why? I
Yeah,
really only played one.
I mean, I know I've met several pro bass players who have two basses, and that's it.
Yeah,
And I mean, they're expensive, nice basses.
yeah, yeah.
Um, in one case, the guy's got he's got three, and he's got like I think he said he's got $4,000 wrapped up in one, and then
Yep.
six in another, which
Oh, you
was in
see,
the lockup. It got stolen, and then it got recovered, and he can't get it out of the police station yet because it's being used for evidence.
wow.
And then another bass, this one his like daily driver is like $3,000, and he brings that one to gigs. And like one's passive, the other two are active.
Yep.
Two of them are 5-string. So he covers all the bases basically. He's
Yeah.
got and then of course he told me, he said my amp rig, since the same rig it's been for 20 years. It's Ampeg SVTs and big 8x10 cabinets and stuff. And I'm like, he's telling me all this, and I'm like, dude, I don't know who you think you're playing for, but there ain't nobody that can pay me to roll around 8x10s anymore.
Nope. Nope. I don't see anybody do. I haven't seen anybody do that in 10 years or better.
Unless it's like a big, touring rock act or
Right, right.
something
That's
like
what I'm saying.
that.
I'm talking about the
It's just,
club
yeah,
acts. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't see anybody roll around anything bigger than a 4x10.
yeah. And 4x10
Truthfully,
is not
it's
pushing it. It just depends on what you're doing.
right, right. I mean, the Mark bass I'm looking at, so there's two versions of the same. It's like the power amp is the same, it's like 850 watts or 1,000 watts,
Yeah, yeah.
but the cabinet is different. One of the
Hmm.
cabinets is two tens with a 12 or two tens with a 15, I don't remember. And then the other one is just two tens. And both of them will feed another cabinet. So I
Sure.
could push two cabinets if I needed to.
Yeah.
And really
I mean,
that's
unless you're trying to move a ton of air on stage, it's really not worth it because you're just going to get most of your volume out of the PA and the sub anyway.
yep.
And you usually gig with a sub, so
Yep.
that's no brainer. I would just hell, I probably would just get the Steve Harris Sands amp and
Yeah. it's been
it,
thought.
it would just it would be like clubbing people in the front row. I mean, have you actually heard like through like a good set of studio monitors what Steve Harris's tone sounds like? It's like getting hit in the face.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been third row from
Yeah,
Iron Maiden, right in
yeah,
front of his monitor. And of course, bass is not directional, as you know. So
yes,
he's standing there with his foot up on his monitor doing the, and
yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah, you feel if you ever driven a car where you roll down the front window and then one of the
Yeah.
back windows at the same time? That's basically the feeling, except it's a far exaggerated.
Yeah, yeah. And back then, I didn't think anything about hearing protection. Um,
Yeah. Well,
that was
that was one thing Nick and I were scrambling for all weekend was earplugs. Because we were just wailing, like everything was turned up. We didn't care because he's got a house and like we were in the
yeah.
basement and
It's fair.
stuff, and it was
Yeah.
fantastic.
I've already asked my neighbors. I said, look, I'm going to go as loud as I can, and I want you to be honest with me. If you can hear me, let me know. And no one, not my back neighbor, my that neighbor, that neighbor, that
Yeah.
neighbor, none of them could hear me. So this room is quite well insulated. But you asked me about pedals. And so, like I said, I played about 8, 10 years. And I was one of those bass players. Now, I'm not putting down anybody that uses pedals for bass. No, I'm not going to do that. That's not my bag. If that's your sound, it's your sound. The only thing I ever thought I might get, and even now, there's 3 pedals I might do for bass. Can you guess what 3 they would be?
One's a tuner.
Okay, I'm not going to count the tuner. Yes. That was the only pedal I used before. I didn't count that as
I
a
mean,
pedal.
I would definitely have an Ottawa and a drive, and I think I don't know that I would need anything else. Maybe a synth pedal, or an octave. Like a low octave is good for bass because you can fill out sound with that.
Especially if
Um,
you're in a 3-piece.
yeah, and that was something that like never occurred to me until like I started playing with guys more recently.
Yep.
And they were all running octaves, and I'm like, "What are you doing with that?" And they're like, "Well, we just mix in a little bit of low octave to fill out the low end." I'm like, "Oh, all
So I
right,
would probably
totally
do,
makes
like,
sense."
believe it or not, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I would do a some kind of chorus octave thing. Um, uh, Preferably bass. These would be bass versions of the pedals. Um, a fuzz pedal or a distortion pedal. Um, and the reason I would go fuzz or distortion is because there was a time when they had tube bass amps,
Right,
and
right.
they're still around. You mentioned the
Yeah,
Subway
like
series,
Ampeg SVTs and stuff
yep.
like that.
But I would not be pushing hard enough, so it would kind of sound crappy. So I'd just rather put a fuzz pedal in there. Um, and the other thing I would probably get is just what you mentioned, is an Ottawa of some kind, something that would funk up my sound.
An envelope
Yep.
filter, or
Yeah.
like Mutron would be nice, but yeah, good luck finding an original Mutron. Um, you're gonna pay the piper for that one.
Yeah.
Um,
I
uh,
saw I saw a big muff that was bass oriented
yeah, there's,
just
I
the
mean,
other day,
and
and
and actually, you'll find the Russian green muff
yep,
is
that's the one.
it's a bass muff.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They so they didn't actually make like bass specific versions. What happened was that bass
Until
players
later.
preferred that one, and yeah, so when you buy if you want something that's more Russian style, you get the bass one,
Yep.
and if you want something that's a little bit brighter, then you get the whatever other version you're after. I don't. I'm just like, I've never been a big fan of fuzz on bass. I played one this weekend actually, but I like grind, and there's some really really cool bass specific like drives that
Yep.
like have like they have like the low octave built in, or where you can buy amp, so like you can run the lower end of your signal clean, and then the drop, so, and that's the stuff that I think is really cool, because you really, when you're playing bass, you really need that foundation tone to still like be basically accosted.
Right.
um
Right.
so
I I think probably the biggest thing when it comes to bass for me, my sound. Most of the time, I'm going to be clean running bass, because I'll be playing a lot of classic rock, but a lot of the classic rock had drive. They had one of two things: they had drive or they had fuzz. Um, and to small club audiences, as long as you're tasteful with either one, I don't think they're going to tell the difference. So I'll just find something that sounds good. I know that always loved Geddy Lee's tone, and he distorts his tone. Most of the
Yeah,
time.
he uses some sort of driver.
Yep.
Doesn't he have a Sans Amp?
He has a Sans Amp. And that's
Yeah.
probably why the Sans Amp wouldn't be a bad idea, even if I used it for its colors.
Yeah, and that's what I was just gonna say. Like when you're a bass player, like you don't, I not it's not all bass players. There's definitely bass
Yeah.
players out there that have boards that are like insane.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I
Doug
played with a guy
Wimbish
like
from
that.
Doug Wimbish from Living Color comes to mind because his board is like 4 feet long with
Yep.
all these obscure pedals on it that you've never heard of in your life. Um, and I think most bass players tend to be a little bit more meat and potatoes about it.
Yep.
And if you're going to be meat and potatoes, something like the Sans Amp Fly Rig series for doing just the couple one-off sounds you need,
Yep.
is probably a really good spend of money.
Yeah.
Especially because they've been well regarded on the bass side of things, probably a lot longer than they have on guitar.
Yep.
It seems like they were always well respected for bass players, and there was kind of like the dirty little secret for guitar players that they were using, this Sans Amp Tri AC or whatever, like as a backup rig or whatnot.
Yep.
Speaking of pedals, I got to play around with an actual Marshall Governor this weekend, and I played a bunch of Governor circuits before, like
Yep.
the Angry Charlie's a Governor, right?
Yep.
I gotta say, man, we had a little bit of a moment where we were tweaking back and forth because I had my King of Tone going, and I could get close on the King of Tone, but it wasn't the same thing. Like the compression was different. So I'm probably gonna build a Governor because I don't want to buy one. They're like $250 or $280 plus shipping for a used one because they're from the early '90s,
Right.
and there's like 3 different versions of it, and getting the right one. I just don't want to mess with all that. I know if I can build my own, I don't have to mess with any of that.
Yep.
So I think it's what I'm gonna do, but I got to replace my soldering iron first. My soldering iron is expensive. I have one of these Hacko soldering systems,
Oh, yeah.
and these are nice. My wife bought this for me for Christmas, but the cat chewed through the cord for the iron, so to get a replacement cord was like $50, I think. To get the replacement iron for it is $88. To
My
buy the whole
gosh.
system is $105. So
That's
I'm
just
going to buy a
ridiculous.
second system and have spare parts. It's worth it, honestly. Like I know people, and you guys have heard me on the show before talk about how bad I am at soldering, but I have I've used Weller irons. I have one right now from Harbor Freight. It is a piece of crap. The tip actually like disintegrated while I was making cables for my board. And I'm just like, I can't do that anymore. I gotta have a decent tool again. Cause I had the Hacko iron when we started doing these pickup giveaways. I started using it to do pickups and stuff. I was like, man, I can actually solder now. And it wasn't that I could solder. It was just that like the cheapy $15, $30 Radio Shack irons are junk. They don't heat up enough, or if they heat up too much, then you burn stuff, and it's like you're just throwing money at problems. So I'm glad she bought that for me. I'm really kind of pissed off that I haven't been able to use it this year, but I kind of sat down the other day. I said, I need to make some cables, and I'm gonna build a Governor. And I said I probably should get that straightened out. So I went and started digging to find the part numbers. Cool thing though. So the Governor thing, have you ever played one?
The Governor?
Yeah, the
No.
Marshall Governor.
No,
So
not the real one.
the King of Tone is based on the Blues Breaker circuit. All right. I played a Blues Breaker before. A Blues Breaker is more like the old 18-watt, up to JTM 45 kind of sounds, right? From Marshall. And they're an overdrive pedal. Like it's very both of these circuits I would consider overdrives, even though I know that the Governor is more like a distortion than it is an overdrive. But the reason I say that is because they don't hit your like they're not meant to sound like amp drive, right? They're meant to hit an amp that's already sort of driven and push it a little bit further over the cliff. And I think there's a distinction there that should be made. It's like an overdrive pedal sounds like a pedal, right? A distortion is supposed to sound like a distorted amp,
Right.
and it could be an amp in the box or whatever. And then the closer it gets to the overdrive spectrum of things, like, is the less it sounds like an amp. And then, of course, the opposite end of that spectrum is, of course, a distortion that sounds nothing like an amp, and that's a fuzz. So I think it's a cool pedal. Honestly, it sounds like a JCM 800 or like maybe a JMP all the way up to JCM 800. And so you can kind of get like those other sounds that you can't get with the King of Tone. The King of Tone, so that's another thing. The Blues Breaker circuit is not a King of Tone. And I found that out today. I was looking at some schematics and I go, they're not identical. Like, people act like it's just a Blues Breaker. It's not just a Blues Breaker. In fact, I even think the op amp is different in it. And it's significantly different. And I wonder if Analog Man tweaked that circuit to sound more like a Governor, because I was really surprised with like how similar they sounded, but just the gain structures were different. Yeah. So that was where I wanted to go with that. But we got a lot of news to talk about tonight. I mean, there's a lot of different things happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about tonight. A lot of things. So one of the things that we should talk about, we should definitely discuss it because it's being discussed, and we've definitely got a differing opinion, and I think it's important. I'm actually pulling them up right now, and that's at Amazon.
That's worth doing. I'm going to pull them up as well.
So Amazon.com has come up with their own line of guitar pedals, and I'm going there now. So it's funny because it's hard to, they're actually not easy to find.
If you search for Amazon Basic guitar pedals.
Yeah, I think it's Basic.
Yeah.
And now here's what's funny. We spoke already about the JHS ones, right? So
yeah, I don't think we actually did talk about those on the show yet.
No, we didn't. So we should probably discuss the two. Okay, Amazon Basics, that's what it is. Amazon Basics, you're right.
So JHS comes out with, they come out with these $99 pedals, and it's a boutique for $99. And I'm gonna be totally legitimately honest. I when I saw them, I went, and then I listened to the video clip where they were showing off what they all do, and I was like, he's got something. Like, those are going to sell like hotcakes because they're really good and they're very generic. You know what I mean? Like, they can cover a lot of ground. So if you're a first time guitar player, like building a rig,
I would
literally point you there.
That's right. I would say buy them. That's what I would say. I would say, because now we've talked about how much is on my board, right? And if you look at the number of the pedals I have more than what he released. Okay, so if you think about it, other than my wah pedal and my tuner, I could literally turn my board into a JHS board that would just be his quote-unquote generic pedals. The smart thing he did was he said, okay, you know what? I'm going to have quality electronics, quality parts, quality switching, but I'm going to make a white, easy to, and this is where he saved the money. So he went with a white pedal with black letters. Just like I don't know if you're old enough to remember generic cigarettes. I never smoked, but I remember seeing them. And it was literally the word generic cigarettes. And it became so popular, you would go to the store and you'd have a whole aisle of stuff like generic spaghetti, generic potato chips. I mean, it was generic everything. So I think he's just old enough to have gone to the store, even if it was with his mom and dad, seen that. So to see that line that JHS has done, definitely a smart move. All of them have the exact same number of knobs. All of them have the printing is super basic. The switch is in the same place. The connections are in the same place. They really brought their costs down to bring you a high quality product, I believe, for a low price of $99 each. $700, you can buy every single one of them. at full street price. Actually, you'd be at $693 plus tax. So if you could get any kind of discount anywhere, you could buy these things at around probably 650, 640. I'm just saying. And
Yeah, I don't know
yeah,
if they're a discount. I don't know if they're discount capable. I thought they were. I thought they were like a negotiated map, but that's
they
fine. I
might
mean,
they
um,
might be.
so I think it's a slam dunk, right? Like I think
I
that's a
do.
smart. I even think it's a smart purchase. I was looking at it and I'm like, I kind of want them, but I'm at the same time I'm also looking at them going, I don't need them because I've got other stuff. Like I mean, you really think their drive's gonna knock the King of Tone off my board? Probably not. Not a chance in hell.
No,
Quite frankly, but
if we were
um,
talking about a starter
but that's what I'm
person.
saying. Like, if somebody who doesn't have that niche, like you want to explore delay pedals, their delay pedal is pretty freaking cool. And I actually, even some of the hardcore pedal guys that are like, we have these really expensive boards I've talked to are like, I kind of like the sound of this one. So, and actually, compared to Boss right now, because, a lot of people look at Boss as being a cheap brand. They're reasonably well priced. I mean, they're all $99. So, I think even the delay's $99, isn't it? I mean, you can't buy a Boss delay for $99.
No, no, you
Not
can't.
even I
That
mean, you'd be hard pressed to do that with a discount.
that's what I'm talking about. I think a Boss delay is what $150. That inexpensive three, whatever they call that third line, which is funny because the JHS Series 3, which I thought was funny. But let me see, Boss DD3, right? Yeah, DD3. A
Yeah,
DD3, a DD3 is $100 used.
yeah, yeah. So, this leads us to the Evil Empire.
Well, yeah. So the Evil Empire, we're gonna talk about that because I wanna stress this. So you know who was one of the first um, uh, YouTube channels that came up in my feed that said, "Let's look at all of the Amazon pedals."
No, I don't know.
JHS,
Yeah, and
and he
and you know what? That makes sense to me.
went through all of them, and you know what he said to some of them? He said, "I wish I'd have made mine that good." There were a couple of them he actually said were pretty good. Now, here's the caveat I'm going to make before I even get started with my side of this. We all know that these are made with budget stuff. They're also all, and this is something he shows, they're all Nux pedals. So if you
Right.
want, so what they did was they took the Nux brand off the outside, literally the inside exactly the same, and the placement of all the parts on the outside is exactly the same. Where the
Yeah.
knobs are, where the buttons are, and everything else. He goes into
Basically spraying down the outside. And
right.
and Nux, if I recall, is what the hell's the name of that company?
Yeah,
Monoprice?
he gave it. No, it's not Monoprice, but it's one of those. Yeah,
I thought it was actually Monoprice in disguise.
it might
Um
be. It might be.
I
He did
don't
say it.
know.
He said
But
it in the
but
video.
but that's the point, right? Like, so these really aren't Amazon doing anything. They didn't
Right.
design anything. They just
No.
put their name on this.
Right.
I
Well,
mean,
what
I guess
Amazon
it's clever marketing. You get to step on Amazon, right?
exactly. Here's all right. So I'm gonna come at it, and then you come at it because
Yeah.
I want you
All
to
right.
come at me. But the reason
Well,
I
I
want you
will.
to come at
I'm gonna come
me,
at you, bro.
the reason the reason I want you to come at me, but keep this. What are we? 800 miles apart. Keep the social distancing. No, but so here's what I find funny. That so there's a whole bunch of people out there in an uproar. Oh, Amazon is going to ruin the market, blah blah blah. And um, the guys at JHS said the same thing I'm going to say, and they said it on a channel before I got a chance to. But I swear, Josh came over to my house, sat down, and said, "Jim, what do you think?" Because he read my mind. But no, seriously, nobody who's going to buy JHS, Wampler, all these other ones are going to buy Amazon Basics. All that Nux did was knock their own knees out. Nux if anybody's intelligent, is just going to go to Amazon Basics and buy the same pedal. So if they're looking at a Nux delay, they'll buy Amazon's delay because they'll save $20 or $15 or whatever the price difference is. And they'll get free shipping if they're a Prime member, which most of us are these days. So I don't see... The truth of the matter is, I don't see what the big deal is. Nobody's got a gun to somebody's head saying, you got to buy this pedal. And nobody's ripping their pedal boards apart going, oh yeah, I'm getting rid of my King of Tone. This freaking $25 delay or not delay, the King of Tone overdrive is going to take it away. No, that's not happening. It's not happening. And nobody that was going to buy a King of Tone is going, you know what? I think I'm going to save a little money and buy a $25. No, that's
yeah,
not.
It's not going to rob that money for sure.
No.
My takeaway from all this, and it's look, I'll be completely honest with you. I have intense hatred of Amazon.com, but it's not like it's, and I use their services, right? Like I
was
pay
just
for
gonna
Prime
say.
every year. I pay for Prime. I'm like everybody else, right? I pay for Prime every year. I use their grocery service because I don't want to
Yep.
go out. Like,
Yep.
I'm not going to pretend like me and Amazon aren't sort of friends. But we're not good friends. Like, there are definitely some things there that need to be remediated. And the reason why I look at this and I just kind of shake my head is not because they put their name on pedals, but it's because they put their name on pedals. And in the sense that, look, I don't care who's producing pedals. I don't care if they're good or they're bad. My problem is they're buying a pedal from another company. They're stamping their name on it, and then they're taking a cut. And it's like, how much more money do they possibly need? Now I know for Nux, this is probably, in their mind, a good idea because Nux is looking at this and going, we don't have market credibility. We don't have market credibility. And I'm sure that's what's driving this conversation between them and Amazon, and it's driven the production of these units. I'm not going to say that's a good or a bad thing for them to actually have done that. That's a business decision that will be etched in history, depending on how this turns out long term. But I do think it's funny that, a company like Amazon, who is selling books, has their fingers in literally everything now. You can buy Amazon Basics batteries.
So let me go back a little bit in history, and just say what I remember Amazon best for. So when I was going to college, Amazon was new. So I think this was around 90s.
It was the early 90s, man.
Yeah,
they started in business in like 95. I mean,
yeah. So I was going to college at that. As a matter of fact, I was going to college before that. So it was way early. It was AOL.com, CompuServe, People PC.
Yep.
Okay. That was the time frame, right? So, and I remember going to them because when I went to them, here's what they did smart, really smart. Because they were going to the college person. Now, at that time, I was in my late 20s, okay? Early 30s, somewhere in there. And so what they did, and you gotta give them all the credit in the world for this, they bought up a bunch of used college books.
Yeah.
So I went to Amazon.com, and they, the school, I went to St. Leo College and later St. Leo University. When I went to school, they said, okay, here's your school book list. I went right to Amazon.com and I bought those books for pennies on the dollar. Like an $80 book was like $20.
I definitely remember doing that too. And then they swiftly kicked the legs out from under eBay by saying, okay, we're going to have used sellers. But that whole thing, so like that's where things start to go awry.
They became the storefront. Yeah.
That's where things start to go awry because it's not clear if you're buying from Marketplace or you're buying from Amazon, which is why I think the Amazon Basics line exists, because they want you to know when you're buying from them, if it's a generic item. And these are generic items. Like let's talk about the names of these pedals. Drive, Looper, Distortion,
Looper.
Boost. I mean, I wonder what that pedal does.
It's easy to figure out. It's not like Earthquaker.
yeah. It's not like, what the hell? they got a tuner and they got all the things you would need to like basically make a pedal board. This is a competing product for JHS in the $99 category. But that said, I think the vast majority of people that are going to sink money into pedals and go buy like a line of pedals to start, right, are people that have already got a vested interest in playing the instrument. Like they know they're going to play it. It's a done deal. They've already practiced a lot and they're maybe at a competent level of guitar. These pedals are for people who like buy a guitar and they're like, I gotta have this and that and the other thing, and then they start buying things and then they leave the guitar in their closet.
I think these are also for those completionists. I think that these are the perfect thing for somebody to impulse buy, to go, you know what? I'm gonna buy them just to see what it sounds like. I mean, that's the JHS said
you can test drive them. They're $25.
You can buy the whole set, everything they have for like I don't remember what the number was, like $150. He goes. I've had dinners that cost this much. He goes, so yeah, and I have had too. So the fact is, I've gone out to dinner and spent $200. So come on, I mean, this is a drop in the bucket. This is fun, and that's what it should be seen as, fun. I'm thinking I might buy them. Seriously, buy them all, put them on a pedal. I've been thinking about the same thing with a JHS Series 3. I was thinking about taking a pedal board, painting it white, right? And then putting the pedals on it, the white and black pedals on it, and then pinstriping the, because you got to be careful about power supplies. You don't want to be painting it. But pinstriping the power supply a la Eddie Van Halen with white tape, and kind of just doing a crazy EVH type thing with those pedals. I think it'd be, to use a term, balls. I think it'd be fun. And I think that the Amazons would be a blast. I mean, who cares if you break them? Who cares? It was $25.
Yeah, I mean, I thought for the amount of money they'd make really good target practice. Except that I don't want to give Amazon any more money or any more control over anybody's life. It's ridiculous. This is the argument I have to make.
I agree with you on Amazon.
I don't think people realize how big Amazon actually is. This is the moment where this like is like the paradigm shift for me.
Bring up the number.
Like I said, I use their service. So the number is not as important as pointing out the fact that 2/3 of the internet is hosted on Amazon Web Services.
2/3. Think about what that is when they talk about the billions of dollars that transfer hands before COVID. Yeah. I don't even know if they've talked numbers since COVID. I'm sure they have. Wait until the Black Friday Wait until the Black Friday numbers hit, and you see how this affects.
I think Forbes said Bezos is making $10 million an hour, or something, some crazy number like that. And that's why I'm like, whoa, it's not. I don't care if they made the pedals. Like that's not the point. It's the fact that like I just don't want to give them any more money. Like I leave my hobbies alone, please. Just stay the hell out of them. Like that's the one sacred place I have left. And so I will be voting with my wallet and just saying, nah, that's enough. Vote no. Yep. That's enough.
So here we are, the Practical Guitarists. We have a vote against Amazon.
I submit.
We have a vote that says I'll probably buy all these pedals at some point and then just screw them up.
Oh, I'll buy them used.
Yeah. Well, I'll just send mine to you. When I'm done with them, I'll give them to you. I don't need them at that point.
I don't want them.
So you'll get them for free.
I really don't want them, but I mean, if you give them to me, I'll demo them and I'll do all sorts.
I think it would be fun. I think it'd be fun to do.
I
get them shipped to you, and then you can ship them to me.
I honestly don't think. I mean, I would love to have seen like Guitar Center do this, right? Of course, Guitar Center's,
Well, another evil.
I don't expect Guitar Center to do much of anything. And you know what though? I don't look at them as the evil empire in the same way I do Amazon. Like Guitar Center, my big hassle is that I think there's a lot of customer service gap in terms of like how they train employees and stuff, especially in stores, because it's like very hit or miss. It's like going into Best Buy. You don't go
Yeah.
into Best Buy and ask the guy in the camera department anything about cameras. Like
No.
you're not going to get a good answer.
50%
You know
of
what
the
I
time,
mean?
you're not going to get anything.
But it's okay to shop there if you know what you're doing.
Well, yeah, it's like there's a scene in Parks and Rec where Ron Swanson walks into a Lowe's types place, and the guy walks up to him and says, "Can I help you?" And he goes, "I know more than you." That's, I mean,
I'm honestly like, I have that, and I'm not trying to be a smart ass, but when I go in there, I often do more than the guys that are assisting me, or
yeah,
gals that are assisting me. That's
yeah,
not always the case. And I do ask questions, and that's why I end up going to my mom and pop a lot more. Is because if I have questions, they usually have an answer because they've probably seen it. Um, Whereas, and that was another conversation Nick and I had about like, he and I are both competent enough we could fix guitars if we want to, but we take stuff to techs. Why? Because sometimes the tech has a better way of doing it, or they have a different opinion, and they may know more than you because they've seen, like, for example, the Gibson hump, right? Like that happens at the where the neck joins the body. Um, they know how to deal with that in different ways that you may not have thought of. Like, for example, steaming a neck or that kind of thing to straighten it. So
yeah.
that's kind of why, like, I think I don't see them as the evil empire. Guitar Center is the evil empire. Um, but we have brands that are budget brands already that have pedals in these price brackets. New X is one of them, obviously, but there's Joyo, there's Donner, um, and a bunch of these other like upstart Chinese companies. And actually, like Joyo's crossed over to the point where they're making some unique stuff. I mean, like they're making like they had their like mini pedal line that they were doing. Now, granted, Joyo's also gotten in trouble for just completely ripping off designs to the point where they leave the source code with the original copyright intact for like digital stuff. I got him in trouble in court, but I think it was Joyo, right? Like that wasn't one of the other ones. That wasn't Moore or somebody like that, was it? I think it was Joyo.
I think so.
So I just like I'm not angry because somebody's making cheap pedals. Like that's no, absolutely. And if you need pedals and you've only got $25 for a boost, by all means, buy an Amazon Basics pedal. But just remember that like every time we give them money, they're just getting richer and richer, and we're getting poorer. And actually, my biggest complaint about it isn't that they got money. Like I don't care if a company has money. That's not the problem. The problem is they have the government now because they 2/3 of the internet, not like business internet, but the internet run on Amazon Web Services, which means that government's got stuff on Amazon Web Services too. My cat is jumping against the door. I thought that was a gunshot. I thought I was going to have to go.
I heard that. I heard that. So, yeah. Um, so, other changes that are coming. If you've seen behind my head,
Yeah.
this chair is literally falling apart.
Yeah. That's
this is
pretty wild, actually.
It's like an 8-year-old chair. 7
Oh,
year
I
chair.
thought that was the new. I thought that was the new one you just ordered.
Wow, that would have been a fast order. I just ordered it like midnight.
No. The one that you ordered like last year when I got mine.
Oh no,
Or-
yeah. The one that I got last year is indoor. So I separated my offices. I have an office for when I'm working for the Navy and an office for when I'm doing this. So that way, when I take my 10-minute break, I come in here. I say, Siri, give me a 10-minute timer. I do my break. When the timer goes off, everything gets shut off. I go back indoors and I'm back at work. I found I was losing a little bit of time in both senses. Like I'd be sitting down in there and it's like 8 o'clock at night. And I'm going,
Yep.
I was supposed to quit work at 3:30 and they're not going to pay me extra. So
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. So anyway,
You said it, not me.
yeah. So I ordered an Omega. I'm shorter than you are. I'm ordered Omega.
A secret lab.
Secret Lab,
Chair.
and I got the the Targaryen one. I
I
ordered
hope you're ready
I
to sit on a hard ass chair because these are hard.
yeah, it. I ordered the 300. Well, I'm thinking about getting the So there's a company called Purple.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about
I
getting a
know there.
Purple, butt wrench or butt thing.
Yeah, for your
It's meant for your
seat
car,
cushion.
but yeah, seat cushion. But it'll work.
Um,
It'll work because these are that right there, and the one that I'm getting and the one I have inside are racing seats. They're car seats.
yeah, yeah.
That's what they're designed from.
So, what other stuff we got to talk about? Did we want to talk
Well,
about the fact that you got
I
a hell
sent
of a?
the.
Oh,
Let's
go
talk
ahead.
about why I sent the Bonamassa back because I don't think I really got into that.
No, you talked about it, but I don't. I mean,
Okay.
like, I think it's more important we talk about what you did. I mean,
Yeah. Well, no, I'm going to go there. So obviously, I sent it back because it wasn't filling a hole. It wasn't filling a need. And one of the things that I got to thinking about, and my, it was something that my Sweetwater rep said that really lit a bulb inside of me. He goes, yeah, you know what? Because they paid for my, I got lucky. They paid for my shipping, my return shipping. Um, and he goes, not everybody uh, likes a signature guitar. And I know your take on a signature guitar. Um, so let me ask you, what is it about a signature guitar that you don't like?
I don't like the fact that it's like I just see it as a form of fandom. Like people wear T-shirts of their favorite bands. Like I don't need like I've always looked at music as a way for me to express myself, not express myself in the way that somebody else would. Like that's not the goal for me. And so the whole idea is like kind of insulting. Um, I don't I don't disregard the fact that like everybody has preferences for certain things.
Right.
Um, and I do think there's a little bit of, tongue in cheek, like, oh, I'm going to play this Van Halen song, so let me get out my Frankenstrat kind of deal. Um, but I just, it irritates me the idea that, like, oh, because I'm playing this person's music, I need to have equipment that, man, like, there's just no reason for that.
Okay.
Um,
So yeah,
and,
yeah.
and oftentimes the player's preferences are not your preferences. And, like, so I can think of situations where people have like a 7.25-inch radius. Why would you want a 7.25-inch radius? Oh, because you'd like everything to fret out at the 10th fret. It just doesn't make any goddamn sense. Like, seriously?
That
Um,
that that speaks highly to what I was about to say. And we've talked a little bit about that, especially when it came to the John Mayer Strat, or the John Mayer
that's
PRS.
exactly what I was referring to. But yeah,
But yeah, that is 7 1/4, isn't it? I didn't
yep.
like the fact that the neck was so round and the radius was so round. But anyway, so the what I was about to say is, and this is probably the most important part for me, is and what he said is that when you buy, all right, so the Bonamassa Les Paul custom Epiphone isn't because Bonamassa plays that Les Paul custom, you know, uh, on stage a lot. He might play it for one song a night, if that. Right. So that's not really. I mean, when you say it's not really a signature, but what it is it's a an attempted copy at what he's got. The thing that I didn't like, and this is where he said it. He said, Jim, sometimes the sound they like is not a sound you're going to like, and that's where, like what you just said, that's where I was. I did not like the tone of the
Can,
guitar.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
Do you have a Dumble?
no,
Do you have Tweed
yeah,
Twins?
exactly,
Like
no,
5 Tweed Twins behind you?
yeah, no,
Then how in the
exactly.
hell? I mean, it's a crapshoot. That's why I said like,
That's it. Was a crapshoot. I knew that going in.
well, but for everybody when they buy a signature guitar, the
Right.
reality is unless you have every finite little piece that goes along with it, you're not even going to be in the ballpark.
That's right.
Um, and it comes down to like, does the guitar fit you more than does the person's name on the headstock mean anything?
Right. Right.
So I would just
And
offer
so
them as stock models. I don't
right.
need to see
And
somebody's name on it.
right. And the truth is, I knew that going into it also, I was like, nah, I probably have to get Bongers to build me 3 pickups because the fact is that I probably won't like them.
Well, he figured he was going to as well.
Yeah,
We were
I
talking about it. He's like,
yeah.
Nick,
Believe me, that was my first.
yeah,
should
he
I?
asked me. He said, "Did Jim keep that Les Paul?" And I said, "No."
Yeah,
And he was like, "Oh, I was getting to get ready to spin him up some pickups.
yeah, because he knew he could open that thing up for me.
That thing was going to sound really good." He's got an Epiphone Joe Bonamassa Firebird
Hmm.
that you would not know is an Epiphone. Because
Yeah,
he's got
I can believe it.
it's got the Gibson headstock thing and
Yeah,
because that's just a plate on those, and then he put his pickup in it, and he did some other stuff to it, but yeah, you wouldn't know, and it sounds great to be
yeah,
honest. So
yeah. I was believe me, that's still in the possibilities. But I wouldn't even bother with the Bonamassa one. I would just get a Gibson, or I mean, an Epiphone custom, and have him
yeah,
do it. Because to be honest with you, that would be a fun thing to do. Like when we finally can get together for the Sweetwater thing, and I'll do that then. Um, so the so what I did was, and you knew this because it was kind of your idea. I don't want to give you all the credit, but it
yeah,
was
you
kind
don't
of
have to
your
give me any.
idea.
It's fine.
Yeah, is that yeah? Don't worry, you take it.
No,
No,
I don't care.
it
I
doesn't
just like to
matter.
spend.
Yeah, that's what I
I
was
just
gonna
like to.
say.
I just like to just spend Jim's money for him. So
So David recommended that. He said, Jim, you love the SE. Why don't you just get an SE? And
well,
so
I believe what I said was you have a tattoo of birds on your arm and you don't own the
yeah, I don't
LSU
know.
wing right now.
Yeah, I don't know that one. So I said, you know what, you're right, and I loved the SE that I had, and so I ordered one Sans the Floyd Rose, with the same 8515 S pickup, same wide pattern thin neck, same nut, same everything. So that's on the way. I'll have that Wednesday. According to FedEx, estimated delivery date is now Wednesday, the 11th.
Yeah, and you got the deal because they're about to bring out new models in the next 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And we I can't say much, but we're hearing from various retailers that
Yep.
the new models are going to be really good.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to add
So
some stuff. So if you're thinking about an SE, you might want to hold out a little bit.
I would unless you're got money burning a hole in your pocket, I would wait to see what the new models look like.
That's
And that's
exactly.
the same thing for any guitar company right now though, because number one, we're in COVID, right? So which means in most states there's still some sort of restrictions going on. It's still difficult to get stuff in from overseas, and so um, I would be very very timid about buying anything right now going into the holiday season to see what gets dropped.
Yep.
And that means guitars, pedals, amps, everything, because the new models are about to debut. There's no
The,
winter NAM, so
yeah. And so the only way to quote unquote get those things out is to just let the retailers know, and by the internet, and then for them to, if they're like an Andertons or something like that, they're going to make videos with what they get in stock, and then they're going to hold the videos back until the day they can release them. And so
right.
the fact of the matter is, I got the PRS SE, gray, trans gray, I think it is, or trans black, um, same color as the one that I had, um, and the book match on the one I picked, and that's the thing you would think. Now here's what's interesting to me because of the way that they do it. So the book matched tops on these guitars are, we all know they're very thin laminate, right? They're a laminate top, and we know that there's a maple cap on there, but
Yeah,
it's
they
not.
still put a maple cap on it, but
Yeah,
that's more for tone than
right, for whatever reasons, right? But the cap you see, the top you see is a laminate. So you would think
right.
they'd be able to create like 12 identical guitars or 20 identical. I have not seen like two of these things that look alike. And so it's very hit or miss whether you're going to get a lot of flame, if you're going to get a little bit,
Well, yeah, that was what I was going to comment. We've talked about this on the show before. Even though they're these veneers, I mean,
Right.
they
Veneer,
suck
that's what.
sometimes. It's like, how the hell
Yeah.
did you put a veneer on there? Like,
That
it sucks that
sucks.
bad.
Yeah, you look at some of these tops and they're just downright awful. And you know what's funny? I think they do this on purpose. Oh, we got a sucky top. Okay, where's that light one? Okay, put it on there. Because somebody's gonna want a 7 pounder. So put it on that 7 pounder. Oh yeah, but sir, this looks like ass.
I
Yeah, I
I
know. So
think
put it
you're
on the
I
7 pounder.
think you're overestimating things. I think that's just the way Cortec builds. Like
Might
they're
be.
given a certain spec for how much flame, like, and they probably have they go over it with a magnifier, and they go, the flame is this wide, and so it fits the spec. Use it for this model and get it out of here. Um,
Hey, but if you look at the
and
flame on the one I picked, it's like holy crap. I mean, the mirroring, the important thing, I should say the book match, excuse me. The book match on this thing from end to end is almost perfect. I mean, if it was not a veneer, this would have been a 10 top. I mean, this thing would have been just incredible.
and that's another thing. You're gonna veneer a guitar. How the hell are you not getting the book match to like be seamless?
Right, like it should be
It should look like a straight line.
and yet, I mean, and I'm not trying to down, uh, you know, PRS, but come on.
Yeah, I mean it's. I think it's just their imports, and unfortunately, that's kind of the way Cortec does things. And you know what? As far as PRS is concerned, I wouldn't look at it as a negative because even if it's an ugly guitar from PRS, if it's an SC model, chances are it's still going to be a lot of guitar for the money.
Oh
But
yeah,
if you want a pretty one, it's
yeah.
going to be a little tougher.
And that's one reason to go through a company like Sweetwater. At that point, and I know I work for Guitar Center, but come on, Sweetwater, you can look at the exact guitar. When I called my rep this morning and I spoke with him, matter of fact, he called me because I sent him an email. I sent him an email right after I bought my chair. I said, I want this when you get in the morning. I want to be your first customer,
Yeah,
and I want this exact serial number. And so when he called me, he said, Jim, I got that serial number. And I showed him a thing on because it looked like it might be a crack, but what it actually is it's a fuzzy from that thing they use to clean it up. But I said,
yeah.
okay, that's fine. Um, so he was talking to me. He goes, you want that one? I said, yeah. He goes, okay, it's in a bag. It's on the way. And that's the beauty of it. I know exactly how much it weighs. I know everything about that guitar before it leaves the factory or the store.
Just
Um,
plan on getting it set up when it shows up. That's the only thing you
yeah,
got to do.
yeah, and that's something that uh, I wish Guitar Center would realize that that's a huge thing when you're buying. We talked about this in our episode called Pig and a Poke. When you're buying the Pig and the Poke, you need to know what the flame looks like. You need to know what the guitar looks like. If somebody had said to me, and I know people who would have been pissed if they bought that guitar behind my head, they said, "Yep, that is what's supposed to be vintage sunburst."
No burst.
That's no burst at all. This is not even an unburst. This is a non-burst. This is an anaconda yellow or whatever they call that thing. This is the no the oh, what's the name of the album? Welcome to the Jungle.
Appetite
Appetite.
for Destruction.
That's what they call this. Appetite burst. So that's an appetite burst. And there are people that would have been at that time because they didn't know the appetites were coming out. They would have been ticked. Said, no, I wanted a vintage sunburst. That's not what that is. Give me
So is
this
that what they actually
or
did?
heritage cherry. Sorry, heritage cherry. That's what it was supposed to be.
Is that
Go
what
ahead.
they actually did? They screwed up and like finished yours like the appetite burst, which hadn't appeared yet. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but they
funny.
couldn't tell me that. At the
Yeah,
time,
that's
they
why they
couldn't
were
tell
kept
me.
going back and forth trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
And now you know, and you're like, yeah, there's something really all that special. They just screwed up.
Yeah, they just messed up and released a guitar. Maybe they didn't like the flame on it. Maybe there was something with thing. They were like, yeah, no, we're not going to put this at the $3,000 line. We'll keep this at the $2,500 line here. Just put the other pickups in it and send it out.
Yep. Well, hopefully, if you ever decide to sell it, that you will get your money back out of it for what it is. So, because it's definitely a unique piece, but
yep.
So
what else is there?
We were going to talk about. There was something else we were going to talk about. Somebody quitting. Oh, somebody getting fired.
Well, I heard he got fired, but of course I was looking at months old news, and it was John Cruz.
Right. From the custom shop.
And I don't want to go into the specifics of what happened. That's not my objective, or I don't think that should be anybody's objective. That's their objective. But we did talk about what happened with a certain pedal company.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Was it Full Tone?
Oh, yeah, Full Tone. Right. Mike Fuller's company.
Yeah. So if you take a similar thing, he tweeted something or repeated a tweet or something that somebody saw and took offense to, and
yeah, it was BLM related. Like basically, he ran his mouth. He probably shouldn't have.
Yep.
Everybody who's like deep in the guitar gear community knows who John Cruz is.
Yep.
He should have been a little bit smarter about representing himself on the internet. And it's not necessarily to say that like he is a racist or not. It's just that he did something dumb.
Yeah, I'm not trying to judge the guy in any way, shape, or form. What I'm trying to say is a guy that was with the company for 33 years, who there's probably maybe 15 to 20% of the Fender Custom Shop guitars are John Cruz's.
At least a lot of the master built ones that people actually want.
The master builds. That's what I meant.
That people desire, because there are other master builders. So the master build, all that means is one guy built your guitar. Like
That's right.
A regular custom shop just means that it went through the custom shop. John Cruz may have worked on your neck. He may have worked on your body. I mean, you just don't know.
Right. Master built means he built the whole guitar.
Right.
Whoever your builder is, he or she. Yep.
Yeah.
And the fact is that there is still a value in his guitars to people.
Yeah, I'm sure that like this didn't do anything to his value. And let's be real, like the people that are on his 2-year wait list with $4,000 or $5,000 wrapped up in a master built, they don't really care about BLM for the most part. Like those guys are like aloof. Guys and probably gals too, frankly, are probably aloof of that whole thing. And like now if you're on that wait list, it's gone. Like that's the one to remember is like I guess you're out of luck. I don't remember what they said he was doing now, because this was a while ago, right? Like he got canned back in June or something.
And it was June or July.
It was interesting because I actually knew about this back then. I didn't really want to comment on it because I was like, for the reason I just said, like a lot of the people just who are on his list probably don't give a crap anyway, which is a sad reality. Except that now John Cruz won't be building their guitar, so they're going to be ticked off about that. And we'll probably be asking for their money back, which I'm sure Fender will be obliging. And they might even just say good riddance. I don't know how that all plays out, but I actually heard another story, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm gonna leave this here, and you guys can research it and ask John Cruz if you run into him at a show or something, because he's going to be in the gear industry. This guy's not going anywhere.
No.
I suspect he'll go start his own company, or go work for somebody like John Sir, who is also a former custom shop master builder that was highly in demand. I suspect that this is not true, but somebody did say that he quit. That they came to him and told him that he could not be posting stuff like that on social media, and he quit. And then they made out like they fired him. So I don't know if that's true or not.
It would kind of make sense in fact that they would want to look like they did
if that's actually what happened, they're going to sweep that under the rug. They're going to slap a gag order on him or whatever they got to do court-wise to keep him quiet. Maybe even pay him a settlement to go away. Because the reality is this, if Fender was willing to keep him employed after he's resharing anti-BLM stuff, that's really bad for their market, because most of their market right now is young people, where they're growing the most anyway, where the company is seeking to like make new inroads. That would not be a good look for them. They really have to be very, very careful about how they manage that. Yeah. It's funny, like with all the scandals Gibson has, and I read a article somewhere the other day, and they were talking about, this whole, is Guitar Center going to file and not, and whether Gibson goes through bankruptcy again, or how that's all going to pan out. But Gibson doesn't have scandals like this right now. Like, they have, we're going to sue you for using our design, but not our master builder is a racist. like that's like a whole other level of scandal, right? And I don't think, to be completely honest with you, I don't think Cruz himself is a racist. I think he did something very misguided and maybe didn't think about the ramifications of his actions. Because he's built guitars for people like Buddy Guy and stuff at some point. Like, he's worked with a lot of artists of color, and there's no way. Like, I just don't see that. And this is part of cancel culture. That's what this is. Cancel culture just sucks. Like, and I feel bad because I feel like I've been a part of cancel culture to an extent. Because we talked about people like the Tone King. Cancel him. I'm fine with saying cancel him. Go for it.
Well, I mean, everybody in the world has done or said something stupid in their lives.
Right.
And the problem has come that when your whole life is under a microscope, then then obviously that stupid thing. It's a good thing that my life wasn't under a microscope. There's a lot of people my age that say, they share memes that say, I'm glad that Facebook wasn't around when I was a kid or whatever, because we did stupid stuff.
Very willing to admit that, like, I've said things that if they were on the internet, like, there would be people following me with flaming torches and pitchforks and stuff. And I'm sort of known amongst my circle of friends of being the guy that says the thing that everybody's thinking but won't say because it's awful. And so, like, I do have sympathy for people like this that go through this situation. Hell, we've been drugged through the mud on the show before. Like, we've had people saying this nasty stuff. And it's, people need to take things with a pinch of salt. Like, we can only carry the pitchforks for so long. We really need to kind of back off on one another. Like, everybody needs to. I mean, Jim and I have been into it recently, in fact, about politics and everything else. And it's just terrible. Dumb.
And you know what sucks about it, and I'll say this, and a lot of what we were fighting about, we were actually agreeing on, which is just dumb. And it's just the way we say it and the way it's interpreted, and then we go at each other, and it's like, why did I do that? Why did I keep going? I should have just said, yeah, I know, that's right. Or why,
I honestly, like, we've had a lot of conversations going on behind the scenes of the podcast for like the last year that are like vaguely guitar related, because I mean, I'm not saying guitar is dead or like frozen or on ice or anything like that, but a lot of us have bigger situations we're dealing with right now because of the reality of what's going on around us. And so it seems like some of these things, like John Cruz getting fired from the custom shop, are just icing on the cake at this point. There's really not a whole lot more that can happen. And we're really trying to make sure that, like, we make a better show that's more focused on not being that and being a distraction from it. And that's because the world needs some distractions right now. Let's be real for a minute. Like, if you're not paying attention to, things like, crazy elections and people contesting that there's fraud, that there's no real proof for yet. And all these different things that are going on, and like the amount of people that are just willing to kill each other right now. And I just like, we need music. Like we need we need music to give people a chance to like take a breather and like sit down and figure their situation out. So I'm off my soapbox. I just I don't know. I mean, I feel like we should have arguments about, Fender versus Gibson and stuff like that. Let's do that for 5 minutes. Who's better, Fender or Gibson?
Gibson, 100%, 100%.
You know what? Do you know what's funny, Jim?
Yeah.
Is I know you probably think I'm going to say Fender, but I just spent a weekend playing some very nice Gibsons, and I have to say I would pick Gibson prior to the Norlin era.
It's and I know you didn't get to play while you were there a good number of the 2019s and up, but I will say that Gibson has made it. They've rounded a turn, rounded a corner.
I think they're making some good. I saw some stuff this weekend. I think they're making some good stuff.
And the pre-Norlin era, of course, there was some really bad ideas for the Norlin era. Come on.
Well, the
wafer thin things that were sandwiched together, and
but Jim, what was going on with Fender at the same time? CBS.
I know, CBS,
and it was equally bad, if not worse.
Come on, pre-CBS era Fenders is what people want. That's why I can't afford to buy a birth year guitar that I want, because a birth year guitar that I want, there's no such thing as a Les Paul from my birth year, and there's the 1964 Fender Stratocaster.
That's only like $15,000, I think.
Yeah, I think a cheap one is in the $15,000.
Yeah, you might be able to afford a
player
body
grade.
You should get a couple screws from one. I think you can. I think
I think a player 64 is somewhere around $12,000 or something like that. A good, I'm talking about good, is like $22,000. And they go up from there. And so, and I was born towards the end of the the pre-CBS era. What is it, 66? Was it 66 they sold off? 65, 66?
I want to say it was, well, that was when I think the deal finally ended, right? Because I think
They
think
started
CBS
in
entered in 1960, I thought.
It might have been,
way earlier. Let me look.
So I know that what is it, it's a late 60s model blackface and then they go to the silver face, and there's still some of the ones.
Yeah, they consider the cutoff to be 65.
65, okay. Yep.
But I think the transition started in 1964.
Yeah.
So
that's why 64 Strats are in demand.
64 to 66 is considered the transition period. The reason why 64 Strats are in demand is because production went up and they were still being made like they were in 65 or in 63.
63.
But the reality is those are CBS era Strats, because CBS was basically the company behind it, and then they started changing things to make them cheaper.
Yeah.
So
and the fact of the matter is, I think a lot of those 60, well, like you said, they were making them the same way because a lot of those things were already started in 63. Just like any other company, they put stuff together, whether it was winding bobbins or whatever, cutting
they were sitting
bodies,
on the shelf,
picking wood, right? All that stuff was done.
It's not uncommon to have an original serial Strat where the year on the body doesn't match the year on the neck and the pickups. They're all like slightly off in some way. Yep. That's not uncommon.
Yeah, and so again, that's why for me, if you were to put Fender against Gibson, here's the thing that nobody makes better than Fender. I'm going to say this, unless you start going into custom shops, okay, like one-off type things. I think Fender makes the best. You're gonna, but let me say this though. Music Man is in there. The best bass guitars that are production line basses. I think
Yeah,
Fender makes some of the best production line basses. And then Music Man is right there. I mean, like literally like this. And G&L is just barely behind that.
I was
I
just
mean,
gonna say, I think just any company that's been associated with Leo Fender makes really
but
good basses.
that's what I was going to say. But they're all Leo Fender things. And I think when you look around though, outside of those three for production guitar basses, it's hard to get close to them. I mean, you've got some hardcore Rickenbacker guys, right? You got some
Sure.
hardcore. Of course, there's going to be Schecter and um, PV, and when they were still making basses in the U.S. In the early 2000s, late 90s. Um,
Right.
and who else? Who else makes a decent bass? Geez, not too many. I mean, Music Man.
I mean, they all
Um,
make decent basses to an extent, but like the ones that are really stellar, like you see pros playing Fenders, you'll see
yeah,
pros playing, you don't see pros playing a lot of, and I'm gonna get crucified for this, but for like Gibson basses, for example, and they do exist. Like that's a thing if you
they
didn't
do.
know. Um,
They do.
PRS basses, that's another one that's not like super popular. They make them,
Yep.
you know, but like Fender is like the mainstay, and
Yeah.
Ernie Ball Music Man probably right behind that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say because the Fender, let in the beginning, if you look at those early Ernie Balls or Music Mans, before they became Ernie Ball Music Man, I think that was before. I can't remember. Please don't quote me on that.
We'll
Um,
just call them Music Mans from now on.
yeah, I think
Has anyone talked about how gender insensitive the name Music Man actually is? Just saying.
that's it. Cancel Music Man. Everybody, don't buy Music Mans. Give them to me.
Yeah,
Um,
just send
I'll
them to
take them
me,
off your
and
hands.
I will see to their disposal.
Matter of fact, I'll pay you most of your shipping. So anyway, so the Music Mans of the early '70s, which I hadn't realized they went back that far, like late '60s, early '70s. AC/DC's bass player played a Music Man, and I had always thought when I was watching them before that's a Fender, and then one day I realized that wait a minute, that headstock looks a little. Wait a minute, that's not a Fender, that's a Music Man. And in the beginning, they looked the same. You know, they had a very Fender jazz looking bass and precision looking bass. Because what what a lot of people, I think a lot of people forget is that Fender kind of not totally, but kind of invented the electric bass for what it was. In that they were really the first real production line
I consider them to be the
bass
first
company.
electric bass. Like as far as they're concerned, like there were people that did it before, but they were always one-offs or like
Yep,
very small production lines. Fender popularized the electric bass, the idea that you could
right.
have this upright thing that you played like a Spanish guitar, because that's what they called them back in the day.
Yeah,
Um, it's a whole thing.
yep.
So yeah,
I enjoy the look back at things like that. I was watching an interview with Carol Kay, and she was playing, an Ibanez. And I'll tell you why I hate Ibanez basses. I mean, hate, not just dislike them, hate them. They have some great tone, they really do. And they make some killer basses until you get to the nut. Why do they make the nut like this big? It's like everybody, my fingers are real close together that are just listening. That
you talking about the
why?
string spacing?
Yeah, so the string spacing at the nut and the first 5 frets is like a guitar. It's terrible. So you don't really get bass feel until you're up at the fifth fret or higher. Um,
I think that's probably true more on the 5 strings than the 4 strings they produce. And that's because a lot of people complain about having a super wide 5 string neck.
yeah,
So that's, I mean, they're doing it because there's a group of people that like it. Like that's
yeah, yeah,
essentially.
yeah. To me, it doesn't feel like a bass. To me, it feels like a guitar. And I tried to fall in love with those things because I wanted a bass guitar that was light and responsive, and had good tone, and that was easier to play. But for some reason, that nut.
I think the real reason that Ibanez basses are popular, I mean, that's obviously there's a little bit of ergonomic thing, right? Some people do like the nut spacing and all that, but I think the real reason they're popular is the electronics. You can buy a $350 Ibanez bass that
Yep.
sounds damn good, um, and that's the active electronics, right? Like they've gotten really good at it,
Yep.
and they give you a body that's kind of like a Yamaha and all the different pieces of components of that. And it's lightweight and it's supposed to be ergonomic, and they do their job really well. I mean, but it's like I don't really think an Ibanez is an exciting bass. Like when I look at basses, I would much rather play a Music Man. In fact, I don't really think much of Fender basses. I mean, that's what I play. I have a jazz bass that I've used for recordings and stuff. But if you gave me a choice, I'd take a Stingray, single pickup Stingray, over that any day. And it's just a matter of preference. And
Yep.
I honestly think that the Stingray electronics are more modern and more versatile than my jazz bass and the P bass that I've also owned. So I mean, that's basically what it's worth. And granted, jazz bass, P bass, typically they're passive basses, right? Like, so the pickups might be good, but you're going to need something to drive the output of the amp because you're going to need something to push it a little bit harder. Most of
Yep.
your modern bass amps are expecting to see a active signal. So I know a lot of guys that use boost pedals, believe it or
Yep.
not, with bass. So
Yeah. Yeah. For that very reason, um, or a compressor. Um,
yeah, well, the
the
compressor helps even out the volume level.
Yep.
And they'll use the gain control to boost it
To
up.
boost it.
They're
That's
doing
right.
they're using it as a 2-stage thing at that point.
Yep. This one is an active bass. This Sterling.
Aren't most of the Stingrays active?
I think so.
I
I
thought
think
they all
so.
were. I'm not really sure. I know that they've played when I picked them up and played them at the store. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, maybe they are because I haven't played enough Stingrays. I know I like the Stingray. I've always wanted to love the bongo because I love the look of the bongo.
no,
Um,
they're ugly. I hate them.
but I'll be honest with you, the feel of the for some reason there's something around that about that body because I'm a finger player that just doesn't it's like instead of this it's this, and I think for a pick player maybe it would be better, plectrum player. And that's another thing that's funny about Carol Kay. She was a guitar player long before she was a bass player,
Hmm.
and she talked about those early sessions and when she got called in, can you play bass? She was like, yes. and she but she it was interesting because her choice of instruments, you would think that today, right, that she would play a Fender jazz or precision, and she would play like a Fender or a Gibson guitar. Nope, she was playing an Ibanez guitar and Ibanez bass, and not even a high end one, just kind of a middle of the road thing. Um, I found it funny, and she had tape, literally masking tape, or something that looked like masking tape on the bridge of her bass to keep it from rattling. So,
Yeah, I'm looking at G&L bases because
oh,
that's
they
what.
make
Yeah, they make some wild stuff, but that was the evolution of the Stingray. I mean,
yeah,
they really took it a step further with like the Kiloton and
yep,
the M2000 and that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Um, and you'll see that they like change where the neck pickup and stuff is at on them. If you get a 2 pickup model, um, they're good bases. Like if you've never played one, they're fantastic. They
oh
play
yeah,
just as good as the Music Man stuff, and
yep,
they're cheaper,
yeah,
significantly cheaper.
yeah,
Now,
especially on the
granted,
used
I
market.
know somebody out there is going, "You idiot!" Like the Music Man bass has a baked maple neck or whatever. Whatever they're doing now, and like all the other. It's like, listen. cryogenically treating a guitar body, do you really think that that's necessary? Because, like, there's only 60 years of guitars that weren't cryogenically treated that are worth, probably more than your brand new Music Man is.
Yep.
So I look at a lot of this stuff as like voodoo. I remember when I was looking at the AZs and they were talking about whatever wood treatment they were doing to the bodies for the AZs, and I'm going, really? Like, show me the evidence that actually suggests that what you're doing makes a difference. Because, I mean, it's a piece of wood, folks. Like, bake it, make a body out of it, put some paint on it, put a neck on it, maybe paint the neck. Like, and it's going to be a guitar if you put.
For some reason, there's a flood of the bass that I want. I'm not going to mention because I don't want to see them disappear. But there's a certain Fender Precision that I want. I've mentioned it before.
Yeah.
And there's a flood of 2006 models that have hit the market. And I say a flood, like 3. But when you go from 0 to 3, that's a flood. But I've seen 4 or 5 different models up, and all but one look like I would go after it. About $1,300 to $1,500 is the price range I'm looking at. And I may just jump on one of those very shortly.
I think I'm going to buy it before you get a chance.
You got to buy them all. Just like Pokemon.
Just to ruin your day. I can resell them. I know they'll sell.
I know they will. You could sell me one.
Hey, this one's in 2 other cards. It also ships from the United Kingdom.
No, I know. That was the thing about the V. So the V I've got, do you see any on Reverb? The V2s? That's a rare guitar. Still. When I picked this one up, there were only 2 other ones. One was in Korea and one was in Germany.
There's a couple on here.
Yeah.
You got to type V2, not V.
Yeah.
II. Yeah. And there's one for $5,000, one for $4,500, one for $3,300. Here's a $5,200 one. Here's a $4,300 one. $2,750. Here's one for that's not Flying V2. Here's $4,300. Yeah, so I mean they're out there. Yeah. They're not super popular. The ones that are out there are way overpriced.
A lot of them were overpriced, but
people are smoking crack and they think they're going to get $5,200 for a V2.
No, 28 maybe.
I don't care. And like, it's not even as good shape as yours.
I know.
Oh, it's got a headstock brake. It's got a headstock brake, and
I saw that one.
$5,200 plus $200 shipping. You know why? Because it's coming out of Moscow.
Yep. I can believe it.
It's Putin's personal guitar.
But I could get enough for that to buy me 2. But that I can't let that one go because it took me too long to get. So it's just one of those things where I've got my collection that I want, and so
you got lucky because you didn't have to pay anything compared to what these people are charging. These people are out of their mind.
Yep.
I noticed this one says this seller is open to offers. Yeah, because
2,000. You could ask anybody that resells this stuff. $2,000 is about right, and that's what I paid. So if I ever had to get rid of it, $2,000 is what I would get. I mean,
yeah.
Like I said, I just had it refretted. So 39 years old. It's going to be 40 years old next year. We're going to have a birthday party, a little celebration, because it was born in March of 2001. Or I mean,
how does it play now that you got the stainless steel frets on there? How's it play?
Oh, now that it's got the new frets on it, it's night and day from what it was. I couldn't bend a note. I could barely hold a note. It would fret out. The only 2 frets couldn't change were 21 and 22 because the V itself, he didn't want to cut the frets and then make crappy frets. So because believe it or not, the 21st and 22nd frets are kind of useless. And so they weren't used or worn at all from original. use.
Yeah, but he did have to level them, I'm sure.
He leveled them. He leveled them, but he didn't have to do anything else.
Do
He
they
crowned them and
look?
leveled
Do
them.
they look right? Because like I know that stainless steel looks slightly different than regular
Yeah,
furniture.
these look right. I'll send you a picture. Um,
Cool.
and the nut is brass, so all I did was glue the
Right.
nut. That's not going to wear very much at all.
No.
Um, and he was amazed. He looked on the inside, to see how it was. He didn't pull the pickups, but I've already seen the back of the pickups. They're
You know the
original.
pickups are fine anyway, because like who the hell makes a pickup for that?
Yeah, nobody, literally nobody. You can't
I
just
I
drop the
have seen
pickup
those
with.
routed. I have seen them routed for humbuckers, but
You can route them, right? But if it had replacement pickups, it would have been routed. You
yeah,
can't
it
even
would.
put a single coil in there without routing it.
Those are single
So
coils, aren't they?
they are they are actually, this is what's funny. They are actually humbuckers that are meant
Are
to
they?
sound like single coils. They're supposed to be noiseless single coils. That's what they're
Are they?
supposed to
Yeah.
be.
So they're three per side, and the windings are reversed, is what they did. All right,
You
makes
got it.
sense.
Yep.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like a Fender Precision, but instead of doing this,
Yeah,
it's
or a Comanche, a Geno Comanche,
yep,
if you've ever
Gino
seen those
Comanche.
pickups.
Yeah,
It's a
that's yeah. GNL's Comanche is the same thing. Yeah.
mhm.
So Tim Shaw designed those pickups, and I think he's still around. I think he's still doing that stuff. So
Yeah, I the name is actually came across somewhere recently. Maybe it was in conversation with Nick or somebody, but
yeah, could be.
um, well, we're reaching the end of our allotted time for the evening.
We are.
You have anything you want to wrap up with? Share,
No, I
you
think
know.
I look forward to playing the bass a bit, um, and starting to sing some stuff and learn some stuff again.
You're gonna
At
buy some Amazon Basics pedals for your baseboard.
no, no, I
You don't
I'm
think they're
thinking
gig
I will
ready?
not do that. What's
You don't think they're
that?
gig? You don't think they're gig worthy?
I don't think so. I think that what everybody's going to find out is just like any other inexpensive pedal that's out there under, under $50. You're going to break switches too fast, even under normal circumstances, even if you're not hard on them. You're going to break switches and you're going to have pots either go bad or they're just going to.
Or they're going to be noisy, and that's another thing. But Newegg has pretty good reputation, so if these are literally the same as the new Xbox, I don't think they're going to be that bad. Um, but it's worth mentioning that foot switches are often a weak point in inexpensive pedals. These look like regular old triple pull double throws, though. Although I know the Joyo stuff did not have quality switches in them. Um, I know people who bought them and had problems with them. But
Plus,
that
who's going to
said,
give you customer service? The beauty is Amazon, whatever the coverage is, Amazon is just going to send you a new one.
yeah, and that's I was just going to point that out. It's like customer service is $25 pedal. Like throw it in the garbage.
Yep,
If it's broke,
that's
you
what
don't
they're going to
fix
tell
that.
you.
I mean, you might be able to put a new triple pull double throw or single pull double throw in there, but even if you do, I mean, the switch is going to be like a quarter of the cost of the pedal.
Yeah,
It just doesn't make any sense at that point.
nope.
When we were talking about Behringer pedals, that came up this weekend. So, um, and we had one apart. It was like laying there, and we were talking about the weak points, and like it's painfully obvious when you open one of these things that the weak points are like the switch and the knobs and the pots, because they're all like the pots are all mounted to the board. The
Yep.
switch is mounted to the board. The switch is nothing more than a little bitty like pad that gets the plastic housing pushes down into. Those things are plastic housing. I've heard people talk so much crap about the plastic housing on them. I've never seen one die. The plastic enclosure die. Do I trust it? No. But do I think it's garbage? I don't know. I mean, obviously they think it's okay. But they do also have now the TC Electronic line, which is the same pedals and metal housings. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I have been David,
I'm a Jim.
and tonight we have been Practical Guitarists.
Yes, we have.